Hello there folks, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be playing through Dangerous Space, which is a roll and write game, a dungeon crawler of sorts, but science fiction, from the designers Jason Tagmire and Jason Greeno. Now these are the pair that brought us Dungeon Pages, which is, I guess, a game in the same series. Certainly it has the same design to Dangerous Space, although Dangerous Space does do some things differently. I've done a playthrough of Dungeon Pages. You'll be able to find it by clicking on the link in the corner of the screen right about now and down in the description below. Now, as I said, this is a roll and write, so we are going to be rolling some dice, probably not that many, but maybe close to that many by the end of the game. And we are going to be filling in a sheet like this. Actually, pretty much this sheet. This is one of many sheets that will be available for Dangerous Space. Each one has a character up at the top and a location down at the bottom. The character and the location are not tightly wed to each other. There's a little dotted line there that you might not be able to see. The idea is you can cut them up and each character can go into any location. The game comes with 4 core sheets like this. This is the first one. This is Donzi going into, what's this location called? I think the location is the same, but there are some differences. So the location on these sheets is called the ESS Oathbound. I guess that is a ship. Well, it says here actually the ship has been drifting for months. Why has no one staked it? Is that what it says? Staked? Yeah, I guess so. Like staked a claim to it, I suppose that means. So we've got Donzi going into the ESS Oathbound. Then here we've got Ulot Kev going into the same location but completing a different mission. And here we've got Tia Bakshi, and finally Joseph Weaver. And the 4 sheets that make up this core set are really only the beginning. As with Dungeon Pages, the intention here is to release more than 50, so 1 a week, throughout the entirety of this year, 2024, until at the end you have like a daunting, insane array of different options of characters and locations that you can mix and match, more than I suspect I will ever manage to actually get time to play. But I did back the Kickstarter, so I've got all of those coming my way. But I do suspect that just picking up the core set will be sufficient for a lot of people. So this is Donzi, and this is the sheet that I've been playing on as I practice and become familiar with the game ahead of recording this video. And this is the one that we're going to be playing through today. I have not yet successfully completed the mission. I didn't successfully get out alive. I completed the mission, but does that really matter if you die in your efforts to get off the ship? I died, and so I don't think it's a win, really. So this is the one I've already played. You can see I've got my numbers down here that I've been doing. As you play the game, you roll dice. You use those dice to move around the ship and to attack enemies. And you have to do that in a particular way in order to succeed. But I will get into all of that once we get started. So I'm going to switch out this sheet that I've already used with a fresh one. There we go. So I'm not one of those dedicated people who's going to be laminating these things. I have been playing over and over again on the same sheet. I think I've had 3 or 4 attempts at that mission. This game is not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, I've been using pencil and rubbing out as and when I die, and then starting again. But today I'm going to use a nice fresh sheet for the video playthrough. So let's start off by having a little look at this sheet and what we've got on here. Each character's got a name and a call sign. Donzi is the locksmith. Then each person has a nice illustration there and a little bit of flavour. So Donzi is a favourite for this year's top recruit. Some think it's unfair given his access to explosives. Then we've got a health bar along the top. Each character has starting health here, and then some additional blocks of health that you can acquire as you are exploring the ship. We've then got sort of a nice skill tree, as you sometimes get like in video games and some board games. We start off with some basic skills, a basic movement skill, a basic attack skill, and a basic defense skill, which I completely forgot about and ignored in every game so far. So maybe today will be the day that I actually use my armour. And at the start of the game, we're going to pick one of these second level gear upgrades. And then at various points as we are making our way around the ESS Oathbound, we will have opportunities, if we play well, to continue upgrading and to get better stuff. There's also a couple of skills that we can acquire, which are helpful. And we've got a little time tracker here. The better you do in the game, the less time you acquire. And if you cannot fill in a point on the time tracker when the game requires it of you, that means you've run out of time, out of oxygen, I guess, or just out of time and you can't carry on. So that's the character area. Below that, we have got the location and the associated threats and mission that are linked to that location. So this is the ship, and the ship is split into 5 different areas, 5 different rooms, I suppose, or rooms and areas. And this is one of the ways that this game differs from the Dungeon Pages game, at least the sheets that I have played, because that's another one that's got 50 or 60 available sheets. Dungeon Pages was split into a series of unique individual locations that you had to progress through. So you picked the first one, once you completed that you moved on to the next one, and so on and so on. In Dangerous Space, the locations are linked. You are essentially moving around this whole area. So if you want, you can just run amok and go willy-nilly all over the place. That probably won't work out for you if you do it that way, as you will see. In these locations, we have entrances that look like that, an exit that looks like that. We have these blue icons here are related to the mission. I assume it's always blue icons for the mission. I might be wrong about that. These green icons are enemies. And then we've got various collectibles that we can get and use as we're going. So the enemies in the location are detailed down here. They've got stats. They've got special abilities, which I am very good at forgetting about. I've definitely forgotten about this clever pirate ability pretty much every time I've played. And then down here we've got a mission. So with that very brief overview out of the way, I think we are just going to get started. Still plenty more to explain. This is a game that is of a fairly moderate complexity. Like, there's quite a lot going on here, but once you get into it, it's very smooth playing and very easy to understand. Let's get into it. Let's take Donzi into the ESS Oathbound. So before we go in, we need to choose 1 second level gear upgrade to take with us. The first level, we've got the ability to move up, down, left, right, 1 space. That's the basic that you always have. We've got the ability to shoot 1 space away. So if we were here, we could shoot that enemy there. And we've got this armour, this jacket here, which allows us to defend using ones. We'll get into that a bit more as we get into it, because I haven't done it much and I need to remind myself how it works. So these are our additional options here. First of all, we can have this one, which allows you to move rather than one in any adjacent directions, up, down, left or right. You could move 3. So that's a pretty handy thing to be able to do. This one allows you to move just 2 more, but not only left, right, up, down, also diagonals as well, which can definitely be useful. I've gone for that a couple of times. We could upgrade our proton launcher so that we can shoot 2 spaces away rather than 1 space away, or we can upgrade our leech flax jacket. So the first one, I've just had a little look because I realised I have to know this in order to explain this. This first level gives us a shield of 1, means we can sacrifice a die with the values shown to reduce incoming damage by 1. So we can sacrifice a dice showing 1 to reduce the amount of damage we're getting by 1. Definitely useful. I think I would have stood a better chance in the games that I played if I remembered that. Then this one here is Leech. Allows us to sacrifice a die with the value shown to reduce incoming damage by 1. So the same so far as the first level. However, we can then add the sacrificed dice value to a different dice, so we can increase the value of a different dice at the same time. Definitely handy, but I think I'm going to go for, as I have done a few times now, for this diagonal movement. So we can move further and we can move diagonally. So the next question is, which room are we going to enter? And I think I'm going to enter the same room that I have done before, this one here. So we're going to circle the entrance that we're coming in. We're going to cross off the other entrances so we don't get confused. Those are out of the game now. And then we're going to circle any enemies that we are activating. When you enter a room, you activate the enemies in that room, and then they are in a position to do you damage. This room goes from here down to here and over to here. So the only enemy in that room is this clever pirate. So we're going to circle that clever pirate to show that he's activated, and he is going to be an issue for us until such time that we take him out. So we've entered the med lab, we have activated the pirate. The reason, by the way, that I've gone into the med lab is I like, firstly, that there's only one enemy in there, and that enemy is quite close to the door, so we can deal with him quite quickly. If we go into engineering, we have to get all the way up here to deal with this enemy, and if we go in the loading bay, there's 2 enemies to deal with in there. So I like the med lab. I also like the fact that in the med lab you can very early in the game get nicely stocked up on additional health, and we'll go over how that happens when we get closer to that. Now we've got to think about our mission. Our mission is to retrieve the data. To collect the data bits, you must connect a sequential path from the entry door to all data bits, and finally to the exit. Data bits must have identical numbers marked on 2 sides. You win if the above is completed. So we've got 2 data bits. We've got this one here and this one here. And you have to have a sequential path of numbers to the data bit from your entrance, so all the way there and all the way there. And then finally, we have to have a sequential path of numbers all the way to the exit. We'll talk about sequential paths of numbers when we get into it. I feel like I'm saying that quite a lot. So we're just going to work out now what dice we're rolling, and we're going to roll some dice. Alrighty, so you always start the game with 1 good dice. We have good dice and we have evil dice. Evil dice are more closely linked to the enemy's actions and doing you damage. Good dice are just good. They don't do anything bad necessarily to you. So we start with 1 good dice. Just move this over here, bring that in. And then you look at the location where you're at, where you're starting, And next to the title is a number of evil dice symbols. And here we are starting with 1. So we've got 1 evil dice, 1 good dice, 1 evil dice. If we started in the loading bay, we would have started with 2 evil dice. Some more dice is good, because you get to do more stuff each round, but more evil dice increases the likelihood that the threats that are active will do you damage. So we're going to roll them, we're going to see what happens. Alright, is that okay? That looks okay. So first thing in a round, once you've rolled the dice, is you look to see whether any of the threats are attacking you. And to do that, you look at your evil dice. You look at the highest evil dice number that you've rolled. I've only got 1 and I've rolled a 4. You then look at any active threats in your area. My active threat is a clever pirate, and the clever pirates have an attack trigger of 5+. That means if you roll a 5 or more, they do you some damage at this stage of the round. Luckily, I rolled a 4, and that means we are all good. So with that out of the way, we will do the explore phase. We use these dice here to move and to attack the enemies. And so I'm going to do just that. So from our starting location, I could go here, I could go here, or I could go here. Remember, I can only go there because I selected the gear upgrade to my grav boots, which allows me to move diagonally. But I'm not going to do that anyway. I'm actually going to go down here into this space here, right next to the enemy, because I want to take that enemy out as quickly as possible so that I don't get hurt by that enemy. It'll be dead. Dead enemies, not a problem. At least the ones I've encountered so far, not a problem. So we're going to go there so that we are in a position to be able to attack, because you can only attack enemies if you are on a dangerous space. Not only the name of the game, the name of a mechanic within the game. So hopefully on the video you can see that we have got white spaces like this. These are normal spaces. And we've got slightly shaded spaces like these. And those are dangerous spaces. If you step into a dangerous space, it means that there is a risk that that enemy can do you some damage. And what you do is you take the dice that you used to move into that location and you roll it. We're going to have a look here. This number here is the react trigger. So we've got the attack trigger and we've got the react trigger. That's when they sort of proactively attack you, and the react trigger is when they're reacting to you stepping into a location where they can possibly do some damage, like I've just done. So we take the dice that we used to move into that location, we roll it, and we have rolled a 5. So that means, because the attack trigger is 4+, that means we've taken a point of damage, which is annoying at this early stage in the game. Now that I am here, I can attack the enemy. And attacking the enemy is very simple. You just make sure that you are within shooting distance. I'm right next to it, so I could use any weapon, I think, to attack it. You make sure that this side of the enemy is vulnerable to attack. Alright, I've actually decided to bring the camera down, which I don't normally do. It's a bit of a break from lone adventurer tradition, but this was just the easiest way to get it well lit. Now if you look, man, look how big my finger is. Woo! If you look next to the enemy, we've got these 2 little circles. We need to attack the enemy from both those sides in order to defeat it. Which means ordinarily, if we were on this side over here, look at my blotchy giant finger, that from over there we wouldn't be able to attack the enemy. We can only attack the enemy from up here. I should be using my pen, shouldn't I? A la Geek Gamers with her crocheting hook. So from up here, we can attack the enemy to get that point, and from over here, which is where we're going to go to next, we can attack the enemy at this point as well. So that's what we're going to do with our 4. We just need to check that our dice is greater than or equal to the defense of the Clever Pirate. The Clever Pirate has a defense of 3, so our 4 will happily do the damage, and we have attacked the Clever Pirate for 1. And we're going to go on to another round. Brilliant. So the 3 on the evil die means that the Clever Pirate is not attacking us in the threat phase, which is good news. So we can move straight on to killing it. Now the Clever Pirate has an ability that I usually forget about, which is if you mark a space immediately diagonal to this threat, cross out an uncollected item. So if we were to mark this space here while the threat is active, I'm pretty sure that once the Clever Pirate is dead, then this doesn't happen anymore. If we were to mark this space here, we'd have to cross out one of these handy items, which would be a shame. Luckily, we have the diagonal movement grav boots upgrade, which means that we can skip straight over to here. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to use the 3 here, and then we need to roll it to see whether the Clever Pirate reacts. 4+, that means the Clever Pirate does react, does us a point of damage. Annoyingly, that means we've already taken 2 points of damage. And then the 4, once again, I'm going to use to attack the Clever Pirate and take him out. And at that point, we can relax, because we have taken out the only threat in the room. And that's why I like to start in the Med Lab and Mess Hall. So now we can roll our dice, we can chill out, and we can talk about the importance of dice placement for different things. First thing you need to think about when you're placing your dice is creating sequential paths. So as we have already discussed, we need to create a sequential path of numbers to the data bits. But if we want to upgrade and conserve our time, we also want to create sequential paths to these checkpoints. Got one there, I've got one there, one there, one there, and one there. And then finally, we're also going to have to create a sequential path all the way to the exit. There's a lot more sequential path building in this game, I think, than compared to the previous game, 2 dungeon pages. While you're doing all those sequential paths, you also need to think about whether you want to collect items, because the way to collect items is to put the same number on 2 sides of that item. So if I put a 2 here and a 2 here, we successfully claim that item and can use it. So a sequential path. So far we've got a 3 there and a 3 there. In order for that path to be maintained, if we were to go down that way, we'd have to put a 3 here, or a number 1 down or 1 up from a 3. So if we put 3, 2, 3, that would be a sequential path. And then each subsequent number in the path has to be 1 up, 1 down, or the same. So we could go 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, and then that would be a sequential path. Then when I reach a target of that path, I tend to highlight it like that. I found that to be actually quite important in this game, because quite often you're chaining sequential paths on. If, for example, we've done a path all the way to this data bit, we might then decide we want to take it a little bit further to get all the way to that checkpoint. And then I would carry it on, 3, 4, 4, 3, and then we can say that sequential path is successful both for the data bit and for the exit. Not the exit, the checkpoint that we're going for there. So that's what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be trying to stay in this area for as long as possible. Between each area we have a corridor. The corridor is a bit tricky to see. I'm going to mark them on for you. So there we go. Within these corridor spaces here, we are in a single area or room, and we will not be activating the enemies in the other areas until we step beyond those corridors. That's not true. That's only slightly true. One of the ways you can activate the enemies in the other areas is by stepping beyond those corridors. The other way you can activate them is by stepping into their dangerous spaces. So if I went down here into these 3 dangerous spaces here, we would activate that enemy even though we weren't stepping into his area. Because as soon as you step into the dangerous spaces of an enemy, you activate that enemy. But by and large, we can now roll dice, stay in here, start building up some nice little sequential paths, hopefully collect those items, and then we'll be doing all right. Fingers crossed. The other thing I would say, last thing before I carry on playing, sorry I'm waffling quite a lot, the last thing I will say is with the sequential paths to the checkpoints, you want to try and keep them low, because if you build a sequential path to a checkpoint, you mark off time equal to the highest number in that sequential path. So I'm going to be looking hopefully to keeping 3 as the highest number. Fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes. 5 and a 1, that's not brilliant. We're going to put the 5 up here. You never know, I might have an opportunity to put a 5 on another side of it. When you're doing that sort of thing, you want to be careful that you're not putting a blocker on a path that you want to build later. I can put a 5 there, and if I want the path to go round this way, it can, or it could go through the 5. But if you took a path through a 5, then you'd be increasing the amount of time that you are using. So that's the 5. Then I've got a 1. Now I don't want to place the 1 directly next to any of the 3s, either of the 3s, because then I'll be creating a situation where I cannot build a sequential path. So I could either chuck it away and put it somewhere that I know I'm not going to need it, or I could put it there and I could theoretically take the sequential path through there, plus I could put a 1 up there allowing me to get that. Feels a little risky committing myself to having to get a 1, but there's not much you can do about that really. This might be a good time to mention this little symbol here. So this symbol is poisonous gas. Now you can still move through these spaces, but if we put an even number in those spaces, we would take a point of damage. So theoretically, if I ended up messing this up and blocking this route here, this sequential path here that I'm going for, then I can always reroute through the poisonous gas and just take it on the chin that I'm going to get a little bit poisoned. While we're down here, it's worth pointing out that obviously you can't move beyond the edges of the hull of the ship, and these spaces here are also solid, you can't move through those. Over here we've got some locked doors. We've also got some key cards, pass keys they're called, which allow you to open the locked doors, but we're probably a ways off worrying about that. Yeah, let's go back up. I'm quite enjoying bringing the camera down to the sheet. Don't ask me why, but it's giving me some degree of pleasure. Okay, so with all that said, we just need to keep on rolling the dice and keep on writing numbers. So we've got a 2 and a 5, perfect. We can put the 2 there to keep our sequential thing going, and we could put the 5 there. And you know what? I think I will. Such is my desire to get that medkit, health booster, as it's called. So that allows us to mark the next section of health. That gives us an additional 3 points of health. Once we've marked it, I'm going to cross it out to remind me that I've done that. Let's keep going. 4 and a 2. That's good as well, because I can put the 2 there. That means I keep that sequential path going, because remember I'm trying to lead that sequential path over to the data bit. Now I could put the 4 here, which would sort of start doing that path down there. It feels like it would be a bit of a shame, because that means that I'm going to end up getting 4 time penalty points when I get to that checkpoint. I might put it down there, which is still continuing a path, but it's less committal to the path to the checkpoint and then eventually onto the exit. 5 and a 2. Good. We can keep the party going here, or we could actually... No, I thought about putting it there for a minute and starting that up, but the problem about being on a 1 is you're kind of committed to either doing a 1 or a 2, whereas if I'm on a 2, I can do a 1, 2 or a 3, so that opens up my options for continuing down there. Now, I don't really want to get too far down there until I absolutely have to, because I want to, when I get down there, I want to take out that enemy as quickly as possible. Now, last time I played, I sort of entered this room from 2 directions at once. I went in there and over here at roughly the same time. Don't ask me how one character can be doing that. The game has got a bit of an abstract angle to it. But basically I was sort of coming in there and coming in here at the same time, which allowed me to get this enemy quite quickly, because if you can see, his damage points are on opposite sides. So if I go in this way, hit him there, I then have to get all the way round there in order to get him on the other side. If you see this diagonal move here, that's illegal, because you can't do a diagonal move when you've got something on both sides. If I pick that up, you can do the diagonal move. If you kill him, you can do the diagonal move. But whilst they're both in position, that's not possible. Basically what I'm saying is, I probably want to avoid going into that room until I can come in from that direction as well. At least that's an ideal scenario. I've used the 2. I haven't used the 5, have I? That's a bit of a shame. Where am I going to put the 5? Don't know about that. I guess I'm going to put it... Am I going to put it there? I don't really want to. I might just pop it up there. So that's a bit of a throwaway of that 5. I couldn't think of anything useful to do with it. Oh, another 5. And it's a 1. That's... Oh, wait, I'll tell you what. I could put the 1 there, getting me that health, getting us another 3 points of health there, and then another 5. I don't really know what to do with that. I'm hesitant about putting it there, because then it's committing me to getting rid of 5 time to do that and that. Sorry, to do that and when I go to the exit. So what am I going to do with that 5? I don't really want to put it anywhere, if I'm honest. Maybe I just need to accept that this route down here is going to get a bit more pricey time-wise because it's further away. That's quite thematic, I like that. If I put the 5 there and I commit to having my route down that way, or at least likely being down that way, that means that when I get there I'll be spending 5 time, and this particular mission, or this particular character rather, I don't know if it's the same for all of them, has 28 time. So that would be using 5 of the time. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the 5 there. 1 and a 3. That's a bit more like it. I can put the 3 there. And then the 1... The 1 I'm not so sure. I could put it down here. Maybe I will. Let's put the 1 there. 1 and a 2. That's good news. Right, I'm going to put the 2 there, and then I'm going to put the 1, I might put it here, and that completes a sequential path to our first checkpoint. So I'm going to highlight that, there we go, and you can see we've gone 3, 3, 2, 1. So each number is the same as 1 lower or 1 higher, although not in this instance, than the previous number. When we get to this checkpoint, because we have done it sequentially, we mark off the highest number. If we hadn't done it sequentially, we would be automatically marking off 6 time. and you could see quite quickly that would get quite time expensive. Now, because this checkpoint flag has this little white symbol on it, that means we get another good dice going forward. So that is fantastic news, and we get to upgrade a gear level or a skill. And I think I'm going to be going for gear. And I like the idea of being able to shoot at a distance of 2. That's really going to help us when we are doing a mad dash to taking down this enemy. That I think is handy. So there you go, we've reached the first checkpoint. I think I'm going to stop this video here and we'll carry on in a subsequent video. I know it doesn't look like we've done a lot, but we've done a lot of explaining in this one. So hopefully we'll make a lot more progress in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if this is a game that you've got. Have you gotten around to it so far? If you have, how have you found it? Do you like the look of it? Otherwise, if you're not a subscriber, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Do consider subscribing to my channel, hitting the bell notification icon, maybe going back over my previous videos. I have played lots of roll and writes, lots of dungeon crawly solo type games. I'm sure you'd find something else there that you don't know about that is in your wheelhouse as well as mine. But thanks for watching, folks. See you in the next one. Bye for now.